need to attack Egypt because that's where the power is. We need to, so again, getting sidetracked, and poor administration of these crusades seem to start off with this very lofty, noble idea, and the administration and the greed and other vices that filter in lead to one disaster after another. But St. Francis of Assisi is a bit of a bright light here. He arrived in 1219 in Egypt, where the Crusaders were now taking up their place, to try to convert Sultan al-Kamil to Christianity. And a few of his friars were seized and brought before the Sultan, and through interpreters he preached to the Sultan. Francis offered to enter a furnace to prove the truth of his religion. And although the Sultan did not convert, he told St. Francis, "Remember me in your prayers, and may God, by your intercession, reveal to me which belief is more pleasing to him." So, trying to convert a Muslim, proselytizing, carried the death penalty. St. Francis got by. Apparently the other friars were rather nervous at this point, but he was quite confident. Now, at this point, and another time, the Sultan will promise the Crusaders to give back the entire land that was conquered in 1098, except for two little forts on the edge, if they just pull out and leave. In stupid stubbornness, they stay and act as if they're going to conquer all of Egypt without, it doesn't happen. To win back Jerusalem permanently by conquering Abayud stayed in Egypt. The Crusaders captured the port city of Damietta, but an attempt to march on Cairo in 1221 resulted in defeat. And one of the reasons it resulted in defeat is that they kept waiting for Emperor Frederick, this Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II, to come. This map, although you can't see the African places, kind of points out the path of the Fourth and Fifth Crusade. The dark line was the Fourth Crusade, and the dashed line, the Fifth Crusade. First going to Cyprus, the little island there, and then to Palestine, and then to Damietta, the port city near the Nile, from which they tried to go down into Cairo and were defeated. So Frederick II, he is the cause of the First Council of Lyon. Perhaps you went over this last time, right? Did a little bit. He was given the nickname Stupor Mundi, Wonder of the World, and he was from very early on to inherit this vast, not just the old Holy Roman Empire, but also the Kingdom of Sicily. So the papal states were jammed between him. He controlled both sides, and married the daughter of the King of Jerusalem, so he claimed that title as well. He collected a lot of titles and crowns. He, in some sense, was the first modern agnostic. He did not care about faith one way or the other. The story goes he possessed his own harem, and he regularly went back on his word. He would say one thing, and do another, and he didn't really care. He spent most of his time down in Sicily, which at this time was not predominantly Catholic. It had been a Muslim country for several centuries, and there was still a very large Muslim contingent there. He had promised to go on the Fifth Crusade way back in 1216. But he delayed going 9 separate times, giving 9 different excuses on why he wouldn't go. He couldn't go this time, next time not. And finally, Gregory IX excommunicated him for failing to fulfill his crusading pledge. And so the next year, excommunicated, he goes on the Sixth Crusade. And it is not really much of a crusade. He basically shows up in the Holy Land and demands a hearing and demands that al-Kamil, the Sultan who had talked to St. Francis, turn over the rights to Jerusalem and Al-Kamil was not really interested in doing that. So he stormed down the coast a little bit, raised a little ruckus, and then they entered into negotiations. The negotiations, Frederick II basically wanted to do as little as possible to get the excommunication sentence lifted so his nobles and local lords wouldn't rebel against him, that they would still have to be obedient to him. He wasn't that interested, apparently, in the sacramental life of the church, but he didn't want this rebellion thing going on. So Frederick II agreed that the Christians in Jerusalem would refrain from building any fortifications during a 10-year period, and the Sultan agreed to turn over control of Jerusalem for a 10-year period to the Christians, but after which time it would revert back to Muslim control. But during that 10 years, they were not to build any type of fortifications, and Frederick II would swear that he would not declare or enter into, encourage, or support any war against Muslim forces in that part of the world. So, with that done, he returns to Sicily and enters negotiations. Gregory IX lifts the excommunication, and after Frederick agrees to restore all the property that he has seized from the church, and as well as pardoning all those who had supported the church during this time. He took revenge. The peace did not last, and by January 1240, Frederick set his sights on invading and occupying Rome, because he was interested in control and being powerful, and these little things the church kept setting up were getting in his way. He wanted more control, more power, and they just weren't cooperating. So Gregory IX called for a council to judge between him and Frederick's claim, and that this council was to meet in Easter 1241. But Frederick intercepted and basically kidnapped many of the cardinals and bishops on the way, wouldn't let him go. And then Gregory IX died before the council could take place. To complicate matters, the cardinals couldn't agree on who the successor would be. So they were locked up in very nasty conditions and fed bread and water until they agreed on someone. The guy lasted a few weeks and then died. And then there was basically a 2-year period where there's no pope, because Frederick II has most of them under lock and key. So eventually they do get together in 1243 and elect an Innocent IV. And Innocent IV flees Rome in disguise and sails up to Genoa and then to France, and he calls an ecumenical council to judge for this controversy, this great crisis that has beset the papacy. And the Innocent IV would stay up in Lyon until Frederick II died in 1250. So a 6-year period where the Pope is out of Rome. France was a safer place. St. Louis IX was king of France and much more open to the church than Frederick II was. Bishops from Germany and northern Italy, where Frederick was the emperor, pled to the council that they should depose Frederick as emperor. So this isn't simply excommunicating, this is deposing. You no longer are taking away the crown, basically. And Innocent IV had renewed the excommunication on Frederick II on Holy Thursday, 1245. The council opened on June 26, 1245, with only 150 bishops present, partly because Frederick II prevented so many from going. And that there was the invasion of the Mongolian invasion. Genghis Khan's descendants were now in Eastern Europe causing problems. So he said there were 5 purposes for the council: reform of the clergy, again; a new crusade to win back the Holy Land, again; dangers posed to the Latin kingdom of Constantinople from the resurgent Greeks. They would throw out the Latins within a couple, 20 years, 10, 15 years of this. Devastation